Let me be able to move to the matters around STC now. We heard that Joy FM had said they cited, is it a petition to you and your board at STC on an appointment of what they describe as a third deputy CEO. And their call is that there are more pressing issues, including acquisition of more buses, for instance, including paying pensioners their money is amounting to about 6 million arrears and so on and so forth. I mean, once you are here yourself, before I come to Honorable, let's hear from you.
Yes, there's been an announcement of a new appointment of a deputy managing director. And let me also say that this is not an additional appointment. I have 3 deputy managing directors, and one has gone on retirement, and the one who's gone on retirement has been replaced. So it is not an additional appointment; it is a replacement. But the unions felt that at this stage of the company, it wasn't a priority to have 3 deputy managing directors. I mean, I've sat here several times with you and Randy to tell you about the issues that we are facing post-COVID, particularly the need to replenish our fleet. And I've told you this several times. So the unions thought that we could do away with that position, and whatever money that can be saved can be invested in something else that is more pressing. And they give grounds for their rejection of the appointment, and they talked about that we need a new bus, a new fleet. They have pension arrears, they have all kinds of arrears, which are all true. So they petitioned the board, and the board met with them yesterday, and all of them, about 30 union leaders, together with the board. I was at the meeting as a board member, and the conclusion was that their grievances will be forwarded to the Ministry of Transport and eventually to the appointing authority. So after the conclusion of the meeting, the board secretary was tasked to write the conclusion, forwarding their petition to the ministry. So I'm hoping that if the ministry gets the letter today, maybe sometime next week, we can hear from the appointing authority as to the concerns of the workers. So the issues that they raised, they are germane issues. Some of the information was not exactly accurate. The arrears with SNIT, for example, is not 6 million, it's about 4 million. And also the arrears on the pensions that they talked about. The issue, and it created a bit of a misunderstanding. The issue, the arrears have all been historic arrears. These were arrears that started, if you take the SNIT arrears, they were from 2013.
2013?
Yes. 5 years before I got there. And so these arrears are piled up. Because for a long time, the company they didn't have buses. And they were largely not in operation. You would agree that the period when you saw STC buses on the road was from the latter part of 2016, just before I got there. But for a long period, the company was in decline. You remember it was even divested in 1999 to a private investor called VANEF. So it became VANEF STC.
Yes.
The private investor couldn't bring the needed investment, and so the government reversed the divestiture to the private investor, I think in 2003 or thereabouts. But the company never really got off its feet. And in that dry period, sometimes they had to resort to actually subleasing land just to keep the company afloat. Some land in Takrady that we had was subleased for a long period just to find some money. Even the MD's bungalow was subleased. Now, so as MD, I don't even have a bungalow. I stay in my own house and so on. But this shows you the difficulty so in that period, they accumulated a lot of statutory payments that had to be made, SNID payments, pension payments, and so on. Even the pension payments, they did from 2011, 2012. When I took over with my new management in 2017, and we did some strategic initiatives, particularly putting up new terminals in strategic areas. And that allowed us, because the previous administration had secured 50 buses in the middle of 2016. When I got there in the middle of 2017, half of the buses were packed. They couldn't be operated, simply because during the decline of the company, other transport companies are taking over the routes, particularly the Kumasi route. And the Kumasi route is the biggest commercial route, is the most profitable. So because STC has been squeezed out, even when they got the buses, they're having difficulty deploying the buses. So the strategy that myself and the new management brought was to diversify the terminals. And when we did that, we got an uptake on the buses, and the buses were now patronized. The first move we did was to get a terminal at Kuma Circle, and then get a second terminal at Asafo in Kumasi. So all of a sudden, the buses were now
on the road
patronized, and it doubled our monthly revenue from 2.3 million cedis to about 5.2, 5.1 million. So that was a huge jump for the company. So in that period, between 2017 to 2019, those 3 years, a lot of these arrears were paid, this SNIT arrears. And then as we speak, we are current on SNIT. Every month we pay them their 100,000 or so. And then the arrears have been ring-fenced. And then when the margins are good, we put something to deflate the arrears. So that's how it's been. And in that period of 2017, 2019, we managed to get another 100 buses. Unfortunately, when we thought that the company that was now going to go through the sky, the buses came and met COVID. And the difficulties that COVID brought, the operational environment became totally impossible. First, we were asked to do social distancing as national policy, which meant that a 44-seater bus could only take 22 passengers to Tamale, to Bolga, and your overheads are the same. You buy the same amount of fuel, and salaries are the same. Spare parts are the same. So it was very difficult when we did that for 8 months, and we lost a lot of money. But even more damaging was that we do a lot of business in the Francophone countries. We have a big terminal in Abidjan, Ouagadougou, Lomé, and Cotonou. And you know what happened during COVID? The borders were shut for 3 years. So 1/3 of our business was just shut off. And then the macro situation where the CD was, we all know what happened to the CD between 2020 and 2023. And it affected the price of fuel. And fuel is our major cost. Now, in the period between 2017 and 2019, those 3 years, fuel was about 26% of our cost. And so we had a lot of margins. That's why we're able to clear lots of the arrears and so on. We even paid government back for some of as part of the loan repayment. We paid the government about $1.7 million in that period. But when COVID came and the CD dollar thing and the price of fuel at one point, it averaged 58% of our costs. So from 26
to 58%
of our costs. At one point, it even went to 62% of our costs. So, and of course, when the cedi, loses value like that, it's not just fuel, spare parts as well. And when you look at the expenditure on fuel and spare parts in those 3 years, 2020, 2023, I mean, later. So you buy your fuel, you buy your spare parts, you pay salaries. There wasn't much left to do anything. So there was a lot of stagnation. And that's why we were not even able to pay all the arrears that we had inherited. Otherwise, we would have paid them off. Now the COVID is over, the conditions are a bit better. The city is relatively more stable, even though we've seen some weakening recently, but it's relatively more stable than in the period 2020 to 2023. But unfortunately, our buses are old. And in intercity transportation, 4 years, you need to get new fleet because you're doing 14-hour journeys, 17-hour journeys. You don't want to be using old buses for those kind of. So we need a new fleet, and that is what we are trying to get. As I speak, in the next few weeks, 2 delegations are going to China and to Turkey to go and conclude arrangements with bus manufacturing companies for the new buses and so on. So the important point is that these arrears that they spoke about, yes, they are there, but they date from 2011, 2012.
And not within the last 5 years, as has been reported.
Also from 2013. And indeed, we made a big push to pay them between 2017 and 2019. But when COVID came, the business environment was so difficult that it limited our ability. And also ADB gave us some part financing. We paid some money ourselves, ADB. And so we owe ADB, but we've been paying them every month. Fortunately, they've been able to restructure because of the difficulties that we had with COVID. And so I heard some amount about, somebody was saying 140 million. No, it's about 80 million. And every month we make some payment to them. But the most important thing is that we have to get a new fleet. And management is working very hard. And you can see in all the agitations of the staff about, they never mention management because we've been working with them and they know the efforts that management is making.
Right.
If you take myself, for example, we've been making sacrifices with them. I mean, I'm entitled to an official car together with my deputies, but we never allowed the company to buy official cars for us for 4 years until we got the 200 buses. So for 2017 to 2020, we're using our own cars. We said, no, let's hold on with that until we got the new buses. Some of the allowances that are available, free travel and so on, we don't take. I don't take them. Anytime, if you needed a ticket and you let me know, I'll buy the ticket for you.
Instead of giving me the compliment.
Yeah, even though I can give you a compliment, I pay. And when you go, and the workers, they know. Even funerals and so on. When I lost my mother, what was entitled to me, I didn't take. So, and all the buses that I rented for the funeral, I paid from my own pocket. So they know the sacrifices that we and leadership to have been making, and so you can see in all the placards and all of that. In fact, when they went for TUC May Day, 2017, 2018. Some of the placards that the STC workers had was that, Mr. President, thank you for giving us Akomea.
And this was the union?
Yes. And I was embarrassed by that, so I begged them that, look, please, don't go and be writing placards about me. None of that. And we have kept faith with them. And so you can see in all the placards that they've been writing and all that, nobody's mentioned that management, because they know that these arrears were way, way, way before we got them. And we've been making efforts to. For now, if you take Senate, we are current. And then we've ring-fenced the arrears, and anytime with the margins are better, we retire them. And the period when the macro situation was good, 2017 to 2019. Like I said, we even paid government $1.7 million. We employed 100 stewardesses to be serving passengers free hot meals. I'm sure you heard about it. And we paid a lot of the debts that we owed to contractors and suppliers and the workers' funds and so on.
Right.
Until we got hit badly by the COVID.
Right.
But the important thing is that we have to get a new fleet. And I am optimistic that the measures that we've put in place, the delegations that we are sending, and these delegations include representatives of the workers. They'll be going to China, they'll be going to Turkey. Of course, we've already spoken to these bus companies that they want us to come so we can conclude. So very soon we'll get a new fleet.
So the workers should be rest assured that the fleet.
And also, you hear they say we have 40-something fleet. Yes, that is STC's own fleet. But it's not like the rest of the fleet are out of. They are the workshops. So if yesterday, like this, 10 of them came out of the workshops. So the fleet numbers change, depend on the...
Okay.
But we have alliances, what we call alliances with private people who... And even some transport operators bring their buses to STC to run for them. And we have a revenue sharing arrangement. So what they talked about was STC's own fleet. But in terms of the buses available for the STC as a corporate, it's a lot. And at Flower alone, we have over 50 buses that run from Tudu to Aflao. And Kumasi alone, we have over 50 buses.
Right.
So, but the important thing is that the board met them. The board gave them a hearing. They were very happy that the board gave them a hearing, and the board agreed that they would take upstairs their grievances. So we have to wait and see how it will go.